Mercy sleeps in the shadows, a whispered redemption, a Heal Our World book by Suffering Well. Chapter 4, Mercy in Action. It started with a pair of shoes, too small, fraying at the edges, left behind beside a bus stop bench like a silent question mark. Frank passed them on a walk one morning, on his way to pick up day-old bread from the bakery that saved their cast-offs for him. He stared at the shoes for too long. They reminded him of a boy he knew in Kabul who had tried to shine soldiers' boots with a rag and spit just for coins. That boy had smiled with his whole face, teeth missing, eyes bright. He never saw him again after the explosion. Frank blinked. He heard the explosion again, the screams. He wanted to dive under the bench, but blinked again and controlled what was on his outside. Took a breath and kept walking. The world had no idea what was going on inside him. After the blessing at Mass, something had shifted. Not a voice, not a vision, just a new kind of gravity. He started seeing them. The quiet woman on the sidewalk behind the dollar store, rocking back and forth and whispering into her coat sleeve. The man with the stained sweatshirt sitting cross-legged near the gas station, drawing maps in the dust with his finger. The girl with the backpack too heavy for her frame, watching every car that passed like she was looking for someone to come back. They were everywhere. But more than that, they were visible now, like they'd stepped out of the blur of the city and into the foreground of his soul. The first time he stopped, it felt like trespassing. An older man sat beneath the overhang of a closed auto parts store, sipping something from a styrofoam cup. Frank stood there with a bag of food he hadn't planned to give away. "Hungry?" he asked awkwardly. The man looked up with eyes as sharp as barbed wire. "That for me or your conscience?" Frank hesitated, then crouched and sat down beside him. "Maybe both," he said. The man grunted, took the bag, ate slowly, eyes still on Frank like a challenge. Frank didn't speak again for a long time, just sat. The silence did more than words ever could. That became his rhythm. He would pack bags with whatever he could find: cans, bread, socks, plastic water bottles, hand warmers. He made lists of needs and taped them to the wall of his trailer. Ronald helped him sometimes, so did Ken. Even Beth Ann dropped off gloves once with a shy smile and a paper bag of homemade cookies. Frank didn't preach, not really, but when asked, he spoke about Jesus. Not the polished church Jesus with tidy answers, but the Jesus who wept and walked dusty roads and told stories that made people uncomfortable and didn't have a place to lay his head. And sometimes, when the conversation ran long and the night was warm enough, he stayed, curled up under an overpass or beside a dumpster, the Bible tucked into his coat and a man snoring nearby. One time he woke to find a stray cat sleeping on his legs and a homeless woman praying over him. He didn't ask what she prayed for. He figured it reached heaven either way. And always, the rosary stayed with him, sometimes in his pocket, sometimes wrapped around his wrist. He didn't always know what to do with it, but it reminded him of Patty, of the chaplet, of divine mercy. It reminded him that hands used to hold a weapon could also hold a prayer. One evening, as twilight folded gently over the city, Frank made his way toward the riverfront. There was a man there who played harmonica in the evenings, wearing a trench coat with only one sleeve. Frank brought him tea in a thermos. As he approached, he noticed someone else nearby. The priest, the same one from Mass. He was kneeling slightly off to the side, speaking in low tones with another man who held his face in his hands. Confession. Frank stopped, watched, waited. When the man walked away, his steps were lighter. The priest remained kneeling, head bowed. Frank walked over slowly, the rosary in his hand.